So this Sunday is All-Ireland Women's Football Final Day at Croke Park. We have the junior final first up at 11:45, which sees Antrim go up against Louth. Then the intermediate final sees Laois against Tyrone. And the main event is the old foes of Meath and Dublin going up against each other. This one throws in at 4:15. Five-time All-Ireland winner with Cork, Doireann O'Sullivan, is with us on the line to preview. So talk to us first of all about All-Ireland Football Final Day, because it's something that we discuss quite a lot on the men's side of things. But I think on the men's side of things, it's become a little bit more straightforward in recent years when there's been no minor game before you and there's just one game and that's it. I always look at the women's final day and it feels like there's a lot going on. There's two games before you if you're in the senior final, 4:15, a little bit of a late kick-off or throw-in on a Sunday. How do you end up dealing with that? And is that actually a big thing that you have to negotiate?
I think when I was playing, I used to tell myself it wasn't a big thing, but looking back, it's just very different to any other game, like the quarterfinals, semi-finals. All-Ireland final takes on a life of its own. As you said, there's 3 games back to back. So you're in your hotel if you're playing the senior game and you're watching the junior game on television. Then you go to Croke Park and, there's new stuff like a Garda escort, even just the crowds. You're trying to stay in the zone, but there's so many people walking down Jones's Road. And I just think that takes on a life of its own. And then you're watching the first half of the intermediate game, back into the dressing room then and getting yourself ready during the second half of the intermediate game. And even just watching it on TV then inside in the dressing rooms, you're trying to, I suppose, take all that in, but stay focused on your own game. So there's a lot of balls in the air, all right. And I do think subconsciously it probably, some players deal with it better than others.
I presume when you're watching the first half of the intermediate game, it's pretty glazed stuff in terms of taking in the match. Like, you surely can't be focusing too much on what's happening in the first half of Laois and Tyrone, for example, if you're a player this weekend.
100%, yeah. Like you're there in body, but your mind is elsewhere. You're nearly just counting down the minutes. Can I just get back into the dressing room? But you don't want to be in there too early as well, because nerves then and, people doing stuff that they wouldn't normally do, or, doing an extra long warm up, and then you're looking at picking up an injury, or, you just want to stick to the same routine. But unfortunately, or fortunately, the way the All-Ireland final day is laid out, it's just different. But to be fair now, Meath and Dublin have both been there plenty of times. So there's probably just a couple of girls who'll have to tackle that. But I remember my first All-Ireland and the likes of, Juliet Murphy and Rona Buckley. I remember I was asking Rona what her favourite thing, was about All-Ireland final day. And she said it was getting the Garda escort. It's just small stuff. And I think the older girls will take the younger girls under their wing, and it's the unforeseen stuff, and the dressing rooms, I suppose, being that big, having that extra bit of time, the band, the red carpet, all of that. So it's just even having the heads up and at the same time not letting that, take from your performance as well.
Did you have a Garda escort for all of your finals, or was it only something that came in the last few?
I think we always had them, because I think Eamon Ryan used, maybe, I don't know, should I be saying it? But maybe knew someone, higher up. So we used to get a Garda escort, but it's small stuff then that can go wrong on the day. I remember we were going in and we'd always change buses at our hotel. So we'd stay up the night before, change buses, because the roof in Croke Park is a certain height and doesn't take, say, the standard double-decker bus or whatever it was. And I remember we did all right going in one day, crash, and the glass in through the window, and it's small stuff, but we did end up, losing that year. So you just, I don't know, it's what you place the importance on yourself as well. They're only small things when you look back, but yeah, it is funny.
So where did the bus crash? In Croke Park?
Yeah. So you're under the stadium, and I just remember, I used to sit at the back of the bus, and it was the back 2 seats, the glass came smashing in.
No way.
We just had to get out of the bus and pretend that didn't happen, and ever in focus. And you're just like, oh my good God, this can't go well for us. And it didn't.
Oh my God. Because Maurice Brosnan was on the show last week, debunking this myth that had been going around about the tip team before the Hurling All-Ireland, where they parked the bus outside and they walked in by the fans to, show that we're up for this. We don't mind the hype. But actually, Morris was making the point that the bus had an air conditioning unit at the top, which meant it was too high and couldn't get in under the tunnel. And actually, this is not a true story at all. So maybe they learned a thing or two from your team and how these buses are actually delicate going into those tunnels.
We should have done that, yeah. Walked in an ordinary fashion and just get ourselves organised instead of having that chaos beforehand. But anyway.
And come here, what was your policy for the parade? Because this is something that divides opinion as well. Are you Jack McCaffrey style, trying to soak it all in, or are you very much looking at the back of the head of the player in front of you?
Yeah, I think you're in the zone at that stage. It was always the initial run out onto Croke Park for me, like, that phrase, like, it took your breath away. Like, I can still feel it, like your breath would actually go and you're like, oh my good God. It's because, especially for the ladies game, like, I know there's big campaigns going on at the moment to try to get more support for quarterfinals, provincial finals, semi-finals, but like, you're gone from a crowd of a couple of maybe 1,000, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 at a semi-final, quarterfinal, whatever it is, up to the 40,000. So that used to literally take my breath away. And then by the time you've the warm-up done, I think you kind of have those pre-match jitters out of the way, You've kicked a few wides, you've, talking on the pitch, getting used to that as well, because the noise, again, for ladies, we would not be used to that. You can barely hear each other on the pitch. So that was another big thing for me my first year. Like, I remember the night before we went through what we were doing in the warm-up, and I was like, Jesus, this is very strange that we're learning off our warm-up. But it was because you literally can't hear, the selector or manager or whoever. So that was another thing. And then the parade, yeah, you're just in the zone at that stage. And then I think the anthem, I used to always stand beside my sister, Ciara. That was just, a thing we used to do, that we'd stand beside each other, whether it was club All-Ireland final or county All-Ireland final. That was our big thing. And I just think, respecting that parade and staying for as long as you can, it's a big occasion. And I do think it's a nice thing to do, to walk behind and stay for the full thing.
Definitely. It also means you've got one less thing to worry about. Are we breaking now? Are we breaking now? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Kicking wides before in All-Ireland seems to be an important thing. You're not the first person who said that over the last couple of weeks as well. Eoin Sheahan was saying that last Friday, that before the 2014 All-Ireland, kicking a few wides into the hill was one of the most important things he could have done, because when he came off the bench, he kicked one, nailed it into the hill, because he knew exactly which way the wind was blowing and how to deal with it in Croke Park.
Yeah, exactly. And you spoke there about the intermediate game, watching that. That would be one thing, especially as a forward, you'd be looking out for, the conditions, the wind and which way it's going, and those small things, and just even getting to step out onto Croke Park, say, during the intermediate half time or whatever it was. But yeah, I do think kicking wides is important. I just make sure that my last kick, say, before we go into the parade or whatever, that isn't a wide, that you're ending as you mean to go on. But yeah, there's no harm, I don't think, in kicking a few wides. You're nervous. We're not used to playing in Croke Park. I played inter-county football for 11 years, and I was only playing in Croke Park a handful of times, so we're just not used to it. So it's normal, I think, to be kicking wides, and you're hoping then, once the ball's thrown in, that they're going over.
So Meath versus Dublin this weekend. It's the second time they've met in an All-Ireland final. 2021 was the last time. I was kind of half thinking, was that played in front of an empty Croke Park? It's not the case. There was over 30,000 at that game, so it is a bit of a touchstone for this weekend. But there are plenty of other points that you can touch on from this year. This is the fourth time they're going to play each other this year, and Dublin have won 3 of the 4 previous matches. That seems to explain why they're fairly strong favourites going into this weekend, I'd suspect.
Yeah, Dublin are our favourites going into the weekend, but I've genuinely now thought about it long and hard since the semi-finals, and I keep flip-flopping as to who I think. I wake up one morning and I'm like, Meath are going to win, and then I wake up next morning and it's Dublin. I find it extremely hard to separate the two teams. I just think those semi-finals were one of the best showcases for ladies football in a long, long time. I thought the two of them were class. You had Meath knocking All-Ireland winners last year, and you had Galway and Dublin going to extra time. I just thought, the two best teams are in the final. And I don't personally think there is anything between them. I actually think they're both very similar teams. Like even when you look at physicality and the way both teams want to play the game, I just think they're very evenly matched, and I don't think there'll be anything between them on Sunday.
The physicality point is something I want to come to. Like if you look back at the Leinster final this year, it finished Dublin 2-13, Meath 1-12. So this is the last of the 4 times they've played this year. Dublin scored 8 points in the bounce in the last 15 minutes. And obviously it was a 12th Leinster title in a row. It feels that would have been a massive momentum shift this year had Meath actually stopped the 12 in a row. It would really be something they'd be talking about this week, I'd presume. But to concede 8 points in the bounce in the last 15 minutes, is there any concern there about Dublin just having the greater reserves of energy coming down the home stretch if this is in any way a tight game?
Yeah, I think to be fair now, I was on the couch watching both semi-finals and I was tired watching them. Like they were... The fitness and strength and speed, agility, everything is just gone absolutely insane. Like, I don't think I genuinely would have lasted 10 minutes at that pace on both semi-finals. It was up and down the pitch. I don't know. It's hard to tell, you know. It's been a while since they've played. Like, a lot has happened since the provincial championships. So I personally think fitness-wise are very evenly matched. I think physicality-wise around the middle 8. I think Dublin might have it on them. You know, the likes of Niamh Heatherton, Martha Byrne, Sinead Goldrick. And it was those girls the last day that, like, you know, in the first 60 minutes, it was Galway. Galway were, I thought, you know, overall in normal time were the better team. But it was like the likes of Leah Caffrey and Sinead Goldrick, those big players for them, that they just refused to lose. Like it was wild, you know, to get a draw. And to be fair, they kicked on then in full time, or sorry, in extra time. But it was like they were not losing, you know. And that's maybe where Galway fell down. Like I've been there, Club All Ireland, you know, there is a thing with, I think anyway, learning how to win, you know. Galway were thereabouts, you know, and they just weren't doing the things to make sure they got over the line. Whereas I think Dublin did those things, those little fouls, you know, not giving away possession when it really, really mattered, and getting the right people on the ball for those shots at the end.
And I think Dublin were probably angry from what happened last year against the same opposition, and they probably felt that they deserved to be in the All-Ireland final last year, and that was robbed by Galway last year. So I'd say that motivated them a bit. But the tackling, and if it's like tactical fouling, if that's what it needs to be at times, this is something that this Dublin team are so brilliant at. And I'm keen to describe this in its most positive light, because if you have a set of rules, you have to push those rules to the limit and you have to work within the realms of that. It was something that they did in the 2023 final. So street smart, so aggressive against Kerry in that final, and they won well that day. Do Meath have the street smarts to live with that level of Dublin experience, I wonder?
I think they do. I think, you know, they've great experience there with Eoin Cleary, Vicky Wall. You know, Sarah Wall really stood up the last day. Her tackling was insane. Like, I remember we were playing an All-Ireland final against Dublin before, and I was running back and I was going out of the screen TV. Like, the gap was increasing when I was chasing my player. Sarah Wall, every time she was running after a player, she was closing that gap, getting a near hand tackle in. And I thought Meath were really disciplined while being physical as well. Now, I know their tackle count was high, so that was, you know, a topic for discussion after the match. Their free count, was high. I was actually in the airport this morning, and I was writing down in the notes on my phone what would dictate who wins on Saturday or Sunday. And I do think the referee is going to have a big say on Sunday, just because, as you said, both teams are so physical that, like, are the likes of, you know, Sinead Goldrick, Leah Caffrey, those really aggressive players, are they going to be allowed to do what they want to do and stop the likes of Emma Duggan and Vicky Wall and the likes above? So I think the referee is going to have a huge say at the weekend. And, you know, a yellow card there in an All-Ireland final in Croke Park, it's very tough to keep that, 14 women aside. So, yeah, I do think the way it's reffed is going to have a big bearing on the outcome on Sunday.
How would you like to see it reffed?
As much let go as you know, that no one's in danger, I suppose. Like, you know, like no high tackles,
Yeah.
that would be a big one. But in terms of going for the ball, like you love the way even Jess Tobin, I think for Dublin this year, the way she's played, and you know she's not a household name for in terms of Dublin's defence, but just the way she's played from the front and been that aggressive. I do hope it's left go that way on Sunday. Same with Mary Kate Lynch and Katie New at the back for Meath. I just saw Katie New the last day gave an exhibition of cornerback play, and like if you're not allowed to tack that ball and you know go 50-50 or you know give the odd nudge, it becomes very stop-start. It's not enjoyable to watch. And as a player, you know, everyone has trained since November. It's the biggest day in ladies football, so they want to showcase their skills. They don't want to be, you know, taking free after free, stop-start, you know. So I would like it to be refed, you know, pretty loose, I suppose, is the term.
And I suspect both teams would be satisfied with that outcome as well. I've already outlined why it might suit Dublin. I think for the Meath full backline, they would take that as well, because it's going to be very hard to get to grips with Hannah Tyrrell and with Carla Rowe without a little bit of leeway. Tyrrell so far, 6 goals and 23 points in this year's championship. You don't have to look far to see Carla Rowe's impact either. I presume it's the most viewed clip of the LGFA season so far, her back heel against Galway. How do you go about stopping this inside line?
I don't know, will Meath go +1 at the back? In the first half, it probably depends on whether they, you know, play with or against the wind. Because as you said, that full forward line is insane. You know, Kate Sullivan, Hannah Tyrrell, Carla Rowe, on any given day, any one of them could get player of the match. You know, each of them have the ability just to light it up. Like even I was at the Cork Dublin minor final on Saturday, and there was a young girl a couple of rows behind us, and she was on about Carla Rowe's goal. And then I met Carla after the match, and she was saying she was getting a good slaggy about it. But like those sort of moments, you know, are what inspire players and what inspire young girls to play ladies football. So all of those inside forwards have that X factor. But then if you flip it on the other side, I think Emma Duggan, Vicky Wall and Kerry Cole lined out the last day for me. Like that full forward line is incredible as well. So I just think both teams are very evenly matched. But in order to stop both full forward lines, I don't know, will they play +1 at the back, or they're going to have to be very, very aggressive. Also disciplined. We saw Hannah Tyrrell's last free to go to extra time against Galway. So, you know, both have excellent free takers as well. So they need to be careful. You know, if the ref is calling early days, they need to learn that and maybe take a step back as well.
It's really interesting to consider where this Dublin team is at relative to the historically great team that won 4 in a row, would have won 5 in a row if it wasn't for Meath coming along. You obviously have the management changeover in the not too distant past with Paul Casey and Derek Murray coming in to replace Mick Bohan. You have the likes of Sophie McIntyre and Hannah McGuinness as new faces who've really thrived. And then you have someone like Sinead Goldrick coming back to the squad as well. How important is that return of experience, even just the idea that Dublin can lean on a couple of players who are part of probably their greatest ever women's football team?
Yeah, it's huge. Like it really, really can't be underplayed. Like that is what got them over the line against Galway. I thought Galway played the better football in the 60 minutes, and it was the likes of Sinead Goldrick. Like Leah Caffrey blocked the ball there, I would have been running away from. Like she put her, like just the aggressiveness, like it was genuinely like they were like, you're not doing it against us. I think they were just distraught after last year. And they would have played each other, Galway and Dublin, a lot over the years. But it was the likes of Sinead Goldrick, Leah Caffrey, Martha Byrne, Hannah Tyrrell, and obviously Carla Rowe. I don't know what happened there with Carla coming off and back on, but even that alone told a story. Like, I don't know, did she talk to management, or did she insist she was coming back on, or what happened? But you know, it was that drive that we're not losing this. So those girls would be hugely important. And you know, as you said, the blend then with the newer girls who have brought huge energy, and that keeps it going as well. You know, if you're the likes of Sinead Goldrick coming back year in year out, and it takes its toll, like, so you need that new energy and that bit of drive from the younger girls as well.
And you mentioned there it was Dublin Cork in the minor final. There's a sense that Are we returning to that great rivalry in the future in a couple of years? Is it going to be a Dublin team continuing to dominate? Are Cork going to come back? Because that was definitely the fear that we had, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago, was that this Dublin team might match the great Cork team and just do a ridiculous number. And that seems to have been put on pause. Do you think they can get back on track and become the dominant team in the country?
Yeah, like from a Cork point of view, it was excellent to see Cork win the minor All Ireland. I think Dublin probably didn't perform on the day. Like it was one way traffic for a lot of that minor final. But it's funny. I just think the way ladies football is going, I don't think any team are going to dominate for a decade. I just think the gap is closing. Like if you look at the 4 semi-finalists, any one of the 4 of them could have been All Ireland contenders, you know. So it's changed, I do think, in that way, and probably for the better. Like obviously, I'd love for Cork to dominate another decade, but I don't see it going that way. Like there's too many teams competing at the highest level, and that's, you know, a lot of work's been done at school level, underage level, in all counties. So yeah, look, Dublin are back, and I think I just don't see their reign going on, or anyone's reign going on for you know, that length of time again.
The one thing about this Meath team as well, and it kind of comes back to what we were talking about at the start, is that not only are they used to All Ireland final day, they're used to winning an All Ireland final day. They've only ever played 2 finals before this weekend, and they've won them both. They've got absolutely no baggage when it comes to the biggest day of all, and a good argument to be made that they have the best player on the pitch as well. So it's easy to make that case. I can see why you're flip-flopping.
Yeah, it's funny. Even then, when you said they have the best player on the pitch, I'm not being smart. I presume it's probably Vicky Wall you're referring to.
Yeah.
But
Could Emma Duggan be the...
Yeah, they've so many good players, genuinely, and I do think they're quite balanced. Like even if Vicky, you know, doesn't have an outstanding game, there's other players that'll step up, which is really good, because it does happen that every now and again, you know, the top players have an off day. So I do think Meath have the depth in squad there to not just be relying on Vicky Wall. But I just think another interesting one going into the weekend is Meath's goalie, Robin Murray. I think she's been absolutely outstanding this year, and I think she'll have a huge say over the weekend. My sister played in goals against Dublin, say, a couple of years ago, and like Dublin do a full court press, sitting usually after they score, or if they kick a wide or whatever it is, they do a full court press, and that can be really, really, really hard to break down and actually get out. And you spoke earlier about, you know, them getting, I don't know, was it 9, 10 points, whatever, on the trot. And that's how they do it. They push everybody up the pitch. They go man or woman for woman, and it's just, I think Robin Murray's kickouts at the weekend are going to be crucial if Meath are to get over the line. I thought, to be honest, not taking away from Sarah Wall's performance in the semi-final, but for me, I thought Robin was player of the match. And, you know, sometimes in ladies football, when the ball's played back to the keeper, there's nearly, you can even feel it in the crowd, that kind of, oh no, you know, get rid of it, a hot potato, like as quick as she got it now, they want it gone again. But Robin, there was just an air of calmness when she got the ball. I don't know, does she play club football out the field? Because, you know, left or right leg, she was just pinging them. And if they got closed down coming down the left, she was able to swing the play out the right. So I just think with Dublin's high press, that's what they're going to want to do. And I do think Robin is a huge find for me this year.
Right, that's very interesting. The distance and the kickouts as well is key against Dublin, because obviously it just gives them a second bit of a thought about how far up they actually press. I am conscious, by the way, that there'll be Meath people listening to this saying Vicky Wall is not the best player on the pitch. She's not even the best player in her family, never mind on the pitch. So talk to us about Sarah Wall. I mean, obviously the hero, the goal-scoring hero the last day. Is she on a par with Vicky?
Yeah, like I just think it's probably hard for her, you know, as in it's always been Vicky, and like that's warranted as well. She's given us some incredible performances throughout the years. So I think probably Sarah has been living in Vicky's shadow a small bit. But the last day, I just thought she played with no fear. Like, you know, she was marking an all-star 2024, and like just gave her very little respect, you know, was going to go out, play her own game. And like not only did she defend really well, she contributed to Meath's attack very well. And she doesn't take too much out of the ball as well. I just think she's very smart with the way she plays, you know, giving the simple pass and to the person in the right position. And again, those things sound easy and they might look easy, but like, I just think she did it very, very well the last day. And her work rate, as I said, was through the roof. She was closing down girls who, you know, they weren't even her marker. That she was getting back, she was tracking, she was cutting across. If they were coming down the right, you could see her funneling back the left. Yeah, I just thought she showed for kickouts. And to be fair, I do think herself and Aoife Cleary work really well together. Maybe a little tag team. If one goes forward, you can see the other slotting back. So the two have huge engines as well. As I said, I was blown away by the fitness levels of the girls, and like, I still play club football, and I just thought the pace and speed, the restarts, you didn't have time to catch your breath. But yeah, I just thought Sarah, you know, epitomised everything that was good about me the last day.
You reserve the right to change your mind on this, but as of Thursday evening, who do you think is going to win on Sunday?
I really, really, and I hate sitting on the fence, but I'm really finding it hard. I think I'm going to go with Dublin.
Right.
Yeah.
By the minimum, I would suggest is what you're going to say.
By the minimum, yeah. I just thought they didn't perform very well by their standards in the 60 minutes against Galway and still dug out a win. And I think on the days that you don't play well and still come out with a win is testament to the squad and the mindset that they have. I don't know if they have sports psychologists with them or what this year. They probably do, but I just thought it was relentless. And again, some girls were not performing well by their standards and they just kicked on, and it was like stubbornness that they weren't going to lose. So yeah, Dublin maybe, but it'll be very close.
As long as their bus makes it to Croke Park in one piece, no windows have fallen out, they will do the business on Sunday. Doireann, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks a million for setting the scene.
Thank you.
Cheers.